Dr. Anthony Fauci, in a recent interview, explains that he does not need to practice Catholicism. It's not for him.
No,
You don't practice
no,
anymore, do you?
I don't. No.
Why?
A number of complicated reasons.
Go on. We have a whole corridor.
First of all, I think my own personal ethics in life are, I think, enough to keep me going on the right path. And I think that there are enough negative aspects about the organizational church that you're very well aware of. I'm not against it. I identify myself as a Catholic. I was raised, I was baptized, I was confirmed, I was married in the church. My children were baptized in the church. But as far as practicing it, it seems almost like a pro forma thing that I don't really need to do.
Okay, so first off, the easy thing to do would be to take ideological cheap shots, just to make comments about how that sounded very arrogant, this is why Fauci's wrong, blah, blah, blah. Instead of doing that, I'll take the more nobler path, which is, let's begin with this reality. Anthony Fauci is a beloved child of God. God loves him immensely. Jesus Christ died for him. He means the world to him. Jesus would die for him if he was the only person alive. Let's begin with that. He is a beloved child of God, no matter what his politics, no matter what are your own politics, no matter what disagreements or agreements you may have with him. That is the first principle. That is the reality. Now, let's look at some of these arguments. First argument is, I have my own system of ethics that works for me. The problem with that is that Catholicism, Christianity, a relationship with Jesus Christ, this isn't simply about moral rules or a system of ethics. This is much deeper than that. This is spirituality. This is a vibrant living relationship with God that affects you internally, that transforms you through the power of grace, that allows you strength and perseverance and a supernatural virtue of generosity and sacrifice and so many virtues that truly, truly lead to the transformation of the person. And it's really about relationship as well. Because let's connect this also to his second point. The second point being, there's a lot of issues that I have with the organizational church. And sure, that makes sense. Even a devout Catholic who loves the church can acknowledge this, right? There's been a lot of corruption in the institutional church, from economic corruption to the sexual abuse scandals to questions of moral leadership and other issues. Many people can agree on that. But going to Mass, being a practicing Catholic, should not be based on whether or not I always agree with the ways of the institutional church. No, this is about Jesus Christ at Calvary being tortured and crucified for you, giving his life for you, loving you with such infinite measure that in complete totality he gave himself as a victim on the Holocaust, that is the crucifixion of love. That's why we go to Mass. Because what happens at Mass, the mystics who've had visions during the liturgy, during the Mass, they see how the altar is surrounded by angels and saints. They see the Mother of God standing on the right-hand side of the priest. They see that the priest himself becomes Christ and that Jesus is present in his crucifixion. There is a reawakening of the moment of Calvary as the priest himself becomes an embodiment of Christ crucified, who gives his body and blood for us. It is a mystical, supernatural reality that is connected to the most interior depths of who we are. The blood of the Lamb that saved us, the blood of the Lamb that opens the doors to heaven, the blood of the Lamb that gives life deep meaning. And that's the reality. When a man says that he has his own system of ethics and therefore doesn't need Catholicism, when he says that, it's clear that such a person, to be polite, to be charitable, doesn't really understand true Catholicism. Such a person doesn't understand the supernatural, mystical dimensions of our faith. Such a person doesn't understand that Jesus was much more than an ethical, moral teacher. Jesus is God. Jesus gave you breath, the fact that you exist. Every gift, every blessing, every privilege that you have received in this life was given by Him. That is reality. And if you think about it, when Jesus Christ can die for you, be tortured for you, be crucified for you, love you so infinitely, what is it to attend Mass once a week on Sunday? It's 1 hour during a week. Really? Really, we don't have that time? Dr. Fauci used this expression, it would be pro forma to do so, right? So an expression that means it would be almost like performing or abiding by the form, performing this act by the form. That type of perspective does not fully understand or appreciate what's happening at Mass, what's happening at the liturgy, the mystical dimensions. Perhaps part of the issue is not just Anthony Fauci's own perspective, which is intellectually impoverished, but perhaps also a lack of catechesis. Whatever upbringing he received in a Catholic system, he mentioned being baptized and confirmed, appears to have been an impoverished expression of catechesis if a man does not have a deeper understanding of the Mass. So that also calls us on, who are devout Catholics, to make greater efforts to catechize, to teach about the great mysteries, the mystical dimensions of what the Mass is, to allow people to understand that the encounter with Jesus Christ, it's not encountering Buddha, it's not encountering Socrates, it's not encountering Muhammad. He's not just a moral teacher. He's God Himself. He's divinity. He's the one who opens the doors, the gates to heaven. He's the one who gives us freedom in this life and in the next life through a relationship with Him. And that is irreplaceable, absolutely irreplaceable.